Yeah, that's right. From Follow That Dream. And if you were watching yesterday, especially on TNT, you got to see not only Elvis, but you got to see Anne Helm. Welcome, Anne.
Hi, David. It's nice to be with you.
Well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
That's good. Well, has there been a year since his passing when there was more hoopla than this year? I don't think so.
You know, I don't think so. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I've had a lot of friends call me and tell me all the stuff that's going on. I think there's I think Pat Brodsky's book has come out on Elvis. You know, the title escapes me. I'm embarrassed to say that. She interviewed me for the book, but she was on NBC last night, and there's been a lot of hoopla, like you say.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think TNT ran something like 30 hours of Elvis in 13 different films, and it was very nice. Very nice of them to select Follow That Dream.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I taped it yesterday and then watched it again last night. It had been a little while since I'd seen it. But you talk about a film loaded with character actors. My goodness, we're talking Simon Oakland was in that, Howard McNear from the Andy Griffith Show, Frank DeCova, Herb Rudley, Roland Winters, who used to do Charlie Chan. Jack Crushen was one of the bad guys in there. Arthur O'Connell, what a fantastic character actor.
They really a host of fabulous talent.
Yeah,
right.
You know, sometimes I think a lot of people will make criticisms of Elvis Presley movies, and you know, sometimes the criticisms are very valid, but it certainly looks as if they surrounded him with professionals, you know?
Well, David Weisbart had, I think, impeccable taste. He was the producer on it, and obviously I think the screenplay was very attractive to these actors. You know, it was well written, and it was based on an original story. And Charles Lederer, who adapted it for the screen, you know, he did one of those films like Casablanca, one of the famous ones. I mean, he had a very good reputation as a writer. So I think, you know, it drew in a lot of talent that way.
Now, this was made at a time when Elvis was churning out 3 or 4 pictures a year, too. Yeah.
And from what I understand, some of the interviews I've read about Elvis, this was one of his favorite films, from what he said. You know, whether you can believe it or not, I don't know.
Well, and in addition to yourself, Joanna Moore was another female co-star in the film, and you were kind of like both vying for his attention. But anybody who was watching the movie from the get-go, they had to be sitting there thinking, oh, he's got to go with Holly. He's got to.
You did.
Know? Oh, yeah. Had to be that way.
Yes, I guess it was pretty predictable.
And Joanna Moore's character was not exactly the most sympathetic character in the world.
No, she was an itch with a bee.
And it kind of looked like, and I don't know if it was Anne Helm having fun or Holly Jones having fun, but the little push into the pond there looked like it was kind of serious.
Yeah, well, there was a little rivalry going on, actually, off the set. So, although Joanne and I became very close friends, and I gave her baby shower for Tatum. You know, Tatum O'Neal is her...
She is the mother of Tatum O'Neal.
Yes. And so we became very close. She was married to Ryan, and so it was... But it was long after that. We were very, very young, and, of course, everybody was crazy about Elvis, and I just happened to be on location first. So I started dating him, and I think she was a little upset about that. I think she was disappointed more than anything, but she was a good gal, and very talented, and a good friend.
Now, we're going to talk about an awful lot tonight, not only Follow That Dream, but your stage work and what you're doing today, and TV guest shots and other theatrical releases and things like that. But as long as we're on Follow That Dream, this was shot in Florida, and... we're talking, let's see, Elvis was born in 1935, so he was like about 26, 27 when this is being shot.
And he was a baby.
And had only been out of the Army a couple of years. And while he was gone, I guess probably a lot of people, maybe his management types and that, thought, gee, is he going to be big or what? He was big. I remember when they came back, they did the Frank Sinatra special, I think in 1960, when he first came out. And then we had a slew of big movies in a very short period of time. The one thing I wanted to ask was Colonel Tom Parker visible around the set? Was he
very much
there?
So. Yeah, he was always there.
Yeah.
And he was funny. He was a funny man.
Yeah.
He smoked a cigar all the time.
Elvis was his meal ticket, though. you know?
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. He knew that he saw the talent and the charisma, and he certainly, I think the Colonel did well for Elvis, although a lot of people have criticized the commercial aspect of his career. They always felt that Elvis really had much more talent than some of the parts and roles he played.
Well, there have been stories over the years that he was considered for some other roles that would have, let's say, more showcased some acting aside from just the singing and things like that. Theoretically, he was up for a role opposite Barbra Streisand.
That's right.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was the Colonel who shot that down.
I think it was.
Yeah, but
I think it was.
I guess there was a certain formula, and they thought, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
It would have been interesting, too, if Elvis had gone on to do deeper work, you know, as an actor. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. I wonder if that would have...
I'm sure, like most people who go into acting, he was probably looking for a part that was against type. Don't you think?
Well, sure. I think we all, you know, when you do something you didn't think you could do and you succeed in it, it's, you know, real high. So I'm sure that would certainly be applicable to him.
Now, you were born in Canada, correct?
I was. Yes.
And when you started out, you were in modeling originally, correct?
Well, I did. I actually started out as a dancer in Toronto. I was with the Metropolitan Ballet Company. I studied with them for years, and I was training to be a dancer in the company. I was only 14 at the time, so and that's all I wanted to do was dance. But really, the life of the dancer is a difficult one, as you know. And when I went to New York, I was studying with the Metropolitan Ballet Company, and to help my mother out with the classes financially, I signed up as a John Robert Powers model.
Oh, that was a biggie.
So that's when that came in, and yeah, it was a biggie for me, I guess. But I loved it. First of all, the money, they gave me all this money, and then I started doing TV commercials, and you know, and I found myself not really wanting to go to as many classes as I was going to at that time, and so it sort of drifted into the acting, you know, from the modeling. I started doing off-Broadway and then Broadway.
Now, for something like Follow That Dream, now Follow That Dream was not your first film, but for something like that, was there like a cattle call, or were you offered it pretty much early on?
Well, you know, I heard that Connie Stevens, they had wanted her for the part, and I know there were some other very talented actresses that tested for the part. There were about 6 of us. And the reason they tested me, David Weisbart and the director Gordon Douglas had seen a television show I had done called Route 66. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, very well.
With George Maharis.
Sure, Martin Milner.
Apparently, it was a wonderful role. I mean, it was one of the best roles I've ever played, and I had a lot of fun playing it. And they saw me in that, and they brought me in to see me for the part of Holly. So that basically really got me the part. I mean, it got me the test anyway, and then they determined that I was the best. I was thrilled. I really was. It was a very exciting time for me.
Yeah. Now, once you had done the Presley film, did that kind of lead to some other work too?
Yes, I went over to London, and I was in a movie. I don't know if you remember the Carry On series.
Oh, like Carry On Doctor
Nerd,
and all
Carry
that.
On Doctor.
Yeah.
Well, the producers of that did a picture over there, a low-budget film, but that was a lot of fun. I had a great time over in London. They really treat you well there, and it was that was a result of doing the Presley film. And then I did the interns at Columbia, and I'm trying to. If you do hear a dog snoring.
No. Am I supposed to be hearing it?
My daughter. I'm babysitting her little pug, and they tend to snore. They've got this funny.
Well, it's not coming through, so that's okay. Now you mentioned the interns. We're talking a pretty heavy hitter cast there too. Cliff Robertson, Telly Savalas.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of people's talents were showcased in that. I think you were lucky looking at a lot of the films that you were in. Some of the people that you got to work opposite, and I mean, these are some big names.
You're right.
You did The Magic Sword. Basil Rathbone was in that.
Still Winwood.
Yeah, and Gary Lockwood. And I noticed in a list of your credits, you had also acted on his TV show, The Lieutenant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did another show with him. I can't remember what it was. I thought it'll come to me. Yes.
I always liked that show, The Lieutenant. And I want to. Was that not written by Gene Roddenberry? I
believe it was.
I think it was just a few years before Star Trek, and that's where he got his start, was on that, and doing some cop shows and things like that as a writer. You were opposite James Caan in Hide in Plain Sight.
Yes, and my husband at the time, he co-starred with James in that. Do you remember the movie? He played the heavy.
Ooh, okay. And Mr. Caan also directed that film.
Yes, he did. That was his first attempt at directing. He did a really good job of it, too.
Yeah. I can't hear the name James Caan without thinking of two roles, Brian's Song and The Godfather. You know, I mean, he's done so many other things, and he's a good actor.
He really is.
But, I mean, I start hearing the music from Brian's Song, I get a little tear in my eye, you know, so like, ooh. Yeah. You did Nightmare in Wax with a couple of guys, Cameron Mitchell and Scott Brady.
Yes.
Are these two rough and tumble characters or what?
They are.
Yeah.
That was a funny movie.
Now, I have to imagine, now you were still, shall we say, like an ingenue at the time?
Yes.
And working opposite a couple of guys like these, and, you know, nothing bad, I don't want to speak ill of the dead or anything, but I would imagine Scott Brady could put down a few beers or something, you know?
He was, from what I hear, he was a heavy drinker. I was not really aware of his drinking, although he wasn't looking great, you know. But I mean, God, he goes back to when? You probably know his track record. I mean, I remember him when I was a little girl.
Well, I know he did a TV series for a while that was called Shotgun Slade, and I used to watch that. I think it only lasted one season, but Cameron Mitchell I would also classify as a very good character actor, did a lot of fine film work, especially in the 50s.
Yes, he was. He did, and then he started doing some B movies. I know I did a television show with him called The Beachcomber. Do you remember that? That was in Florida. That was shot in Florida.
Yeah. We're talking with Anne Helm, and primarily because of her co-starring opposite the late Elvis Presley in Follow That Dream, but she's had a fine career in addition to that. She's done a lot of TV work and some stage work, and we're going to talk about particularly a made-for-TV movie in which you appeared that I always like, called The Tattered Web. So we're going to take our first break right here and come back and talk a little bit more with Anne Helm. And welcome back, everyone. The time now 9:27. Our guest is Anne Helm. And Anne, that song there has some particular significance, does it not?
Angel. Is that the one you're playing?
That's it.
Yes. That was the last song that Elvis sang in the film, and it was the last song that he sang to me.
That was right before.
That was our goodbye.
That was the big clinch at the
climax.
I
know, and
movie,
it was a very tender scene for both of us, I think, because we really knew we were both going on with our lives, and we had a glorious time. We had dated for a long time, and spent a lot of time alone, which was unusual with Elvis, because usually when he was on location, he was surrounded by so many fans. But this place that we shot the film, it was not really accessible. So there were very few people there except the crew. Considering the people that have come to be known as the Memphis Mafia, how tough was it to have a private moment with Elvis? Well, I had a wonderful time with the boys. I became one of the boys. There was nothing to do there except go out in a motorboat, which the Colonel had given to Elvis for his birthday, and there was the boat, and there was poker, and there was just food and getting up in the morning and going to bed at night. There was very little to do. Now, would I want to play poker with Anne Helm, or would you fleece me? Well, I got to be pretty good, and I insisted, even though I was dating Elvis, and he certainly didn't need my $10 and $15, but I always paid my debts. And I've saved one of the checks I gave him, debt paid in full, for $10. I
Do
thought
you
that
know
was
what
fun.
you could sell that for today?
Well, I
Holy
keep
cow.
thinking that I'll give it to my grandchildren
Yeah, there you go.
in the next millennium.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, there are people I'll guarantee you right now that are salivating just hearing something like
Oh,
that.
really? Well,
Yeah.
maybe I'll do something with that. I don't know.
Right before the break, I made reference to a made-for-TV movie, and I saw this thing, I'd say 2 or 3 times, and each time, if it's on late at night and I'm channel surfing or whatever, I get hooked on this. It's called A Tattered Web, and it was a CBS made-for-TV production back in the early 70s. Lloyd Bridges was in it, and Frank Converse, Murray Hamilton, Broderick Crawford. But Lloyd Bridges kind of plays a bad guy, you know?
Yes, he
And
was. It was the first time I've ever seen him as
this
a bad
was
guy.
what a crush, because I grew up watching Mike Nelson and Sea Hunt.
And Sea Hunt.
Oh, man, you know. But it was a good film. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Now-
worked with him on Sea Hunt with his son Bo and Jeff.
Wow. Now, did you have to put on the aqua lung and everything, too?
No, I didn't have to do that. I think I got stuck in a sewer pipe or something.
Okay.
It wasn't that romantic.
Yeah. Now, you have a brother who did quite a bit of acting, too, correct?
Yes, and he's living very close to you in Nixa.
Yeah, I understand. He's right outside of Branson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, is he retired from the business or what?
Pretty much so. Although he works on transportation on movies now.
Oh, okay.
But he is pretty much retired from acting.
Yeah, and that's Peter. We should tell
Peter,
people.
right?
Yeah.
He did a lot of shows.
Yeah. And did you ever have the chance to work together, the two of you?
We did do summer stock. We did Anniversary Waltz many, many years ago back east. And I'm trying to think. We didn't really. It's too bad. It would have been fun to work with Peter.
That's right.
But he wasn't in the business that long. You know, he had a short-lived career.
Mm-hmm.
But we probably would have worked together if he had continued on.
Right. Now I notice among the TV credits that you have a lot of primetime dramas that you appeared on, and we're talking like The Untouchables and The FBI and Hawaii Five-0 and The Streets of San Francisco and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I noticed that you were also on Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Mm-hmm.
Now I must confess that I don't remember that one. You weren't a murder victim or anything, were you?
No, I was. I ended up being a clock at the end. My grandfather was very jealous of this boyfriend.
I wish I had my rim shot set up for your grandfather and a clock. I was. Ooh.
I know, it was really spooky. He was a clockmaker, my grandfather. Abraham Sofar played my grandfather, and what he did is he took, they never went into the graphic explanation of how he made me into a clock, but I guess he just took my innards out and put the clock inside of me, and so when you came in at the end, the boyfriend came to look for me because I had disappeared.
Ooh.
And he came into the clock shop, and there I was, ticking.
Now, was this particular one directed by Mr. Hitchcock?
No, I don't think he. Well, maybe he did the earlier ones. I wish that he had directed. One of them that I had done. I did 2, I believe. Yes, I did 2.
Yeah, I think when the series debuted in the mid-'50s, I think he did the majority of the episodes then, but after a season or 2, he pretty much just did the wraparounds and the narration and that. But that was a good show.
It was, and it was done in such a short time. A half an hour isn't a long time to tell a story, but he did it well.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And you know what? A lot of people, I think, when he was going to make that transition from movies to TV, they didn't predict exactly gargantuan success for him. You know?
Really?
Yeah, I've read that they didn't expect him to, you're this master storyteller at 90 minutes or 2 hours, and then all of a sudden you're going to put everything in a nice 30-minute package.
Mm-hmm. He sort of defied gravity.
Yeah, well, but that's okay. Well, and at his size, that was very good, so we'll just let that go right there.
Right.
Yeah. Now, getting back to some other things, now, I understand that today that you're very much involved with being an artist.
Yes,
okay.
I love art.
And did I hear properly that you're also kind of into astrology?
No.
No?
Who told you that?
Well, maybe I read an old bio or something.
I wish I knew more about astrology. It fascinates me.
Well, you know why I said that? Because I noticed that we both are Virgos.
Oh, fellow Virgo.
Yeah.
Great.
Now, I read something...
When's your birthday?
August the 25th.
Okay.
I read something...
You're on the cusp of Leo or something.
You're right, I am. I read something a long time ago that said Virgos are supposed to be stubborn but intelligent. And when I say that to people, people will look at me and say, yeah, well, that's half right. And I never know how to take that.
Half right.
Yeah, I'm either stubborn or I'm intelligent. Which
I
one?
like the word willful more than stubborn.
That's better. I like that.
Don't you like that
better?
better?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Determined.
That's not bad either. That's not bad.
Right.
Now, in addition to some of the TV work that we've already mentioned, you did a pilot for something. This was originally, I think, a film. I want to say in the 40s, and then they were going to make the transition here. My Sister Eileen, correct?
Yes, with Eileen Stritch.
Yeah. Now, you had to dye your hair for that?
I became almost a Harlow blonde, yes.
Wow.
And my hair all fell out.
Oh, no, don't tell me that.
Yes, it was terrible.
Oh.
It was I had a wonderful time working with Eileen Stritch. She is just so much fun and so talented. But yes, my hair did fall out.
Well, thank goodness it came back.
Yes.
Yes, because I saw you on TNT. They did a little thing where they were interviewing you there, so that was very good. Now, do you ever go back to your Canadian roots at all, or just pretty much USA, or what?
Well, I have some relatives up in Vancouver, but I pretty much I became an American citizen actually when I went over to do that picture in England. In order to get back to the country, I had a dual citizenship, so I became an American. But I have good feelings about Canada. Canada's a beautiful country. But I don't have a lot of relatives up there. My mother's living up in Quebec.
All right.
In a little stone cottage. Doesn't speak a word of French.
And how is she doing?
Well, I don't know. She's a real pioneer lady. She lives a mile away from everybody, and she doesn't speak any French. And she lives
on the surface, that sounds incredibly impossible to
Well,
to get along.
She does that. She visits on occasion. She goes to Ontario where they speak English, but no, she's very much into nature and staying by herself. So, and she seems happy up there. It's a beautiful country.
Now, when you were working in TV and movies and that, were you ever part of a studio system where you had like a multi-year contract or anything like that?
No, I came in really after a lot of the contract players stopped. They stopped doing that with a lot of actors. No, I didn't have that.
See,
I did have a running episode on Run for Your Life. I did about 3 or 4 shows on that.
Yeah.
But there was no contract really. I did General Hospital for a year. And there was a contract with that, but that's not what you're talking about.
No, the reason I was asking was because the way we were always thinking of people being groomed. Like, okay, now today you'll take your singing lessons, and next week we're going to teach you how to use a saber in case you're ever in a duel, and like that. And I think a lot of people, it was almost like a factory system, the way people were turned out.
Well, yes, and yet at the same time, there's a part of that would really have appealed to me. I would love to have had some caretakers, grooming me and watching over my career. I think that would have been very nice.
And like tonight, we'd like you to go to this premiere with Robert Wagner and stuff like that. Sure, yeah.
I mean, I think it would have been fun for a while. No, I know there were some that rebelled, but it's kind of nice to be watched over. I mean, especially in this day and age.
Yeah. Now, when you were doing the soap, were you a vixen or what?
No, I was so sweet. I was Sweet Mary. My name was Mary Briggs, and I just was
just dripping sugar.
Saccharinely sweet.
Yeah? Well, that's okay.
I was a good girl.
They didn't, like, kill you off or anything?
No, I got pregnant in order for them to sort of get rid of me, and there was another gal who'd been on for 4 years, so they gave her a better story in her departure. But for me, I went off on a train and just disappeared.
They never saw you again.
And what was odd is, I mean, I was really intrinsic in this story. I was, and they just referred to me as, well, she just disappeared on this train.
She's gone. We don't know.
It's easy to get rid of us.
Okay. Now, do you find yourself to this day having people come up and saying, oh, I remember you from this one guest shot, or I was a fan of General Hospital, or is it mostly, follow that dream, What gets the most attention? Is it
really, although the die-hard Elvis fans really do remember the film, and they remember more than I do, certainly.
Oh, yeah.
They're just amazing.
Right.
But sometimes I get people that remember. It's amazing to me that people have that kind of memory about shows that they've been touched by.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when you mentioned Tattered Web, that astounds me that you remember that so well.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It impressed me.
Mm-hmm.
It really did. Well, we're getting impressed all over the place here with Anne Helm. She's our guest. It's approximately 9:40, and we're going to take our next break and then come back and discuss a little bit more of Anne's career.
Natural.
And welcome back, everyone. Our guest is Anne Helm, and of course she played Holly Jones in Follow That Dream. And one of our callers who did not wish to go on the air was wondering specifically what beach, where were you in Florida where that was filmed?
I was in a place called Crystal River.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then we had other locations, and I don't recall the names of the places, but that was pretty much the main location for us. That's where all the beach things were shot.
Very good. We were talking earlier about Basil Rathbone and Gary Lockwood. That was a film called The Magic Sword, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Now, many of us, when we think of Basil Rathbone, we think, man, a heavy and a curmudgeon and a bad guy, and if he's holding the dueling thing, he's going to get you right in the guts and all. What kind of a gentleman was he?
Well, he was a very private person. You're talking about Basil now?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Because Basil and Gary are a very different breed. Basil was very private, and he very cordial, very much the gentleman. And we didn't, unfortunately, I would love to have gotten to know him, but I don't think he was an easy person to get to know. I think, I guess he was British, and I don't know if that was because he was British. But he was a gentleman. I enjoyed working with him.
I would certainly say my take on him is refined.
Very refined.
And educated, but
yes.
Perhaps just a little aloof.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good.
You had great respect for him. He commanded respect.
You also appeared in a film with Jill St. John and Robert Goulet. That was Honeymoon Hotel. Cute movie.
Cute movie?
Yeah, don't you
it
think?
Was. Yeah, it was a cutie pie.
Yeah, and Robert Goulet has not done a whole lot of film work.
No,
right?
And he was just so beautiful. Gosh, he was so handsome and talented. But he didn't do. I mean, he had a nice career.
Sure.
He just didn't do a lot of movies.
You can still like practically picture him on the Ed Sullivan Show doing Lancelot and singing.
That's right. Yeah.
Boy, he sounded fantastic.
Yeah. Beautiful voice.
Yeah. An actress that you worked with is someone who is not that well known, I would say, by today's generation of moviegoers, and I'm thinking of Shirley Knight. This was a film called The Couch, and a fantastic actress.
Really, yes, and she's doing very well. She's doing great character work right now. Yeah, I enjoy Shirley. She's really was a lovely person to work with. Very serious too. She was very serious when she was young. I always admired her for that.
Yeah. Now, we made mention earlier about your painting and things like that. Does this occupy at least a few hours of every day, or how often do you approach this?
Pretty much so every day. Yes, art just keeps me afloat. It's sort of like a meditation almost. It really transports me to a very childlike place, and it's like playing. In the mud pile. I work in mixed media. I do a lot. I'm very eclectic in the way I approach art, and I've done stained glass and clay. I love sculpture. And I actually used to teach children. I used to teach a lot of children.
Now, have some of your work appeared at galleries?
Yes, I had a show not long ago, and I have a show coming up in February. I used to paint a lot of angels back in '89, and I'm going to probably have an angel show. I think I'm going to present all my angels.
Gosh, now is that left over from the song Angel?
Well, maybe it is. I think there's a lot of synchronism in all of our lives, and certainly Follow That Dream has stayed with me. I believe that we must always have a dream, no matter how old we are. So, and Elvis certainly lives on with. Certainly Follow That Dream has stayed with me. I believe that we must always have a dream, no matter how old we are. So, and Elvis certainly lives on with, his charisma and attraction, and all the people that loved him, they still care for him deeply. It's amazing. I don't think there hasn't been anyone like Elvis.
No,
really.
there hasn't. And I teach high school when I'm not doing this. And
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah. And I have students all the time will say, they'll drop names of certain acts, whether they're a single artist or a group or whatever. And I'll say, no, you're talking about the impact and everything. I said, you can't touch Elvis Presley for the impact on music. Not even close. Not even close,
No, he really did change us all.
Oh, man. And there were the critics, too, though.
Oh, heavily. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they banned him in many places.
Sure.
Amazing. I mean, how he impacted. And he still is in his own way. I mean, I'm just amazed. I think on some level he is almost alive in that he fills an empty spot in people's hearts, and he was a very humble person.
Right.
For his stature. I mean, he really always had humility. I mean, I know toward the end of his life it was more difficult because I think he was in a lot of pain and all those drugs and things were just messing him up. But
during the time that you knew him, were you able to go to, let's say, a restaurant without being mobbed or anything?
No way. I dated him when we came back.
Yeah.
And he used to go incognito. I remember we went to a movie and he bought out the entire top of the movie house and all the boys, in their black suits.
Sure.
We got out of the limousine and Elvis. I mean, it's hard to disguise Elvis.
That's true.
Especially when you're running around with 5 men in black suits.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was fun though. It was just the best treat. I mean, going out with Elvis.
Right.
It was an experience.
Do you mind? We have a couple of callers who'd like to ask a question. Is that okay?
Not at all.
Sure. Okay, let's bring in Larry, and Larry's calling us from Mount Sterling. Hi, Larry. You're on with Anne Helm.
It's great talking to you, Anne.
Hi, Larry.
I thought you did a really good job in If All That Dream. That's one of his best movies. I always get you confused with another actress from the 60s. Are you by any chance the sister of Yvonne Craig?
No, but so many people have asked us that, and I actually had a woman come up to me one time in a line and embrace me, and she was convinced that I was Yvonne, and when I told her I wasn't, she didn't believe me. She was a friend, she knew Yvonne from the past, and I actually saw Yvonne in a show one time, and I thought it was me. It was a profile, and I thought, I don't remember doing that show. So we really do look alike,
There's a definite physical resemblance.
Yeah, and I see Yvonne a lot now. We've become good friends, and we keep thinking there must be something for us as sisters because we photograph more. We look more alike on film than we do in real life, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
hey, Larry, thank you a lot for your question. Let's go to another one here. This is Ed. Hi, Ed. You're on with Anne Helm.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Very good.
Hi, Anne.
Hi. What's your name?
Oh, my name is Ed.
Hi.
Yes, I asked you, Dave mentioned the film The Couch.
Yes.
And Grant Williams was in there. What was he like to work with?
Oh, I really enjoyed working with Grant. He was a very talented musician.
Uh-huh.
He gave concerts, actually, classical music.
Oh.
He was a pianist, and I've lost touch with Grant. I don't know where he is now, but I had a lot of admiration for him as a talent, as a musician, besides being a very good actor. He was
all right. That was a pretty scary film, wasn't it?
Oh, it was spooky. That was a creepy movie.
All right.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ed.
Thank you, Dave.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
yeah,
bye.
We better take our last break here because I'll tell you what, Ann, the switchboard is lighting up. There's all kinds of people want to ask you questions.
Oh, great. Okay.
So we'll take our final break of the hour where our guest is Anne Helm. You're listening to 550 KTRS. And we just have about 7 minutes left. It's 9:53. Our guest is Anne Helm, and that song was sung especially to her by Elvis in Follow That Dream. You still get a little, like, kitschy coo whenever you hear that?
Well, I didn't hear the song you were playing. What was it?
We were playing Angel Again.
Oh, you're playing Angel Again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite song, and I do. You're right. What did you say, kitty coo?
Yeah, well, I was trying to think of like a warm fuzzy.
Yeah, warm fuzzy.
Yeah.
I definitely, yes, I feel very warm.
I gotcha.
It was a sweet way to end the film. Usually that doesn't happen. Sometimes you'll go the first day and shoot the last scene in the film. So this was kind of nice to have that.
And hey, let me say for all people, well, for all guys who you're sitting there, you're watching this film, whether it was in the theater the first time around or just this past weekend or what, and the whole, not that you weren't looking lovely in the whole movie, but when you came out wearing that dress with the hair down, that was kind of like special, So, okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's go to another caller. This is Robert. He's calling from South St. Louis. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Dave. I just wanted to know, how tall was Elvis?
Okay, that's easy enough. How tall was Elvis?
Oh, Lord, David, you probably know.
I'm going to guess he was about 5'11" or 6 foot, right around.
About right.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people in show business that they inflate the statistics, and we've heard all kinds of figures for Alan Ladd and Robert Redford and people like. I don't think Elvis was short on height or anything.
No, he
like
wasn't.
That, so.
He was just perfect.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I'd say back then, looking like a pretty darn good physically fit specimen of the male species,
Yes, he was.
Yeah, well, we'll just kind of leave those details out right there.
I think there are a lot of people that agree with you.
Yeah, okay, well, that's probably true. When you make an appearance at an autograph show or something like that, do people kind of dominate the time with Elvis questions, I would expect?
I think that's why they're there, really. They want to know about Elvis, and I enjoy talking about him. I think it's wonderful that he makes people so happy.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few things in the world now that make us happy outside. There's the trees and the birds and all that, but Elvis is really, is quite a miracle. It's almost like, I heard something, I was watching TNT or one of the shows on Elvis, and this woman came on and she talked about how he was, and I wish I could remember exactly what she said, but it was like Elvis is like our caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, what a sweet thing to say, that he's sort of like an angel. The image for me, because I love angels, the idea of angels watching over everyone, and they say there's an angel for every blade of grass that grows, so I suspect there's an angel for each one of us.
Sure.
And if indeed, all these people are attached to Elvis, maybe he is an angel for us now. For the people that really think about him.
Well, he has certainly touched a lot of lives, and even people born after his death are just so caught up in this whole thing. And man, has Graceland taken off in the last few years, and the Presley estate and all the things that are licensed through it. It's staggering to the imagination.
It really is. It's like a whole kingdom.
Yeah. So when they issued the stamp a couple of years ago, did you go right out and get some first day covers?
I did get some, and I saved them. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had that figured out. So. Yeah. Well, Anne Helm is retired from acting. Is that safe to say?
Yes, it is. Although I've been thinking I might like to get back someday. If there was a wonderful role, I don't know if that will happen, but art is really where I'm at right now. That's all I am doing.
Mm-hmm. And will we ever see like an Anne Helm tell-all autobiography or anything?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if there's a market for that.
Listen, all you have to do is, I was Elvis's girlfriend, and
well, I think we'd have to go.
Take off.
Maybe 90 years old in a wheelchair in the millennium, past. I don't know. That would be interesting. The last survivor.
Yeah, or how the Memphis Mafia taught me to play poker or something.
Right.
Yeah. There's all kinds of catchy things we could do with that.
Right. Well, you can write it, David.
Yeah, I'm ready. Hey, that sounds good to me. First of all, I want to apologize. We had some other callers. There was just no way we were going to get them all on and fit them in. But we want to thank you for consenting to be our interview subject tonight. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It was a delight for me, too. I enjoyed it a lot.
And listen, continued success in anything you do, especially with the art and everything. And do you ever get around Nixa, Missouri to visit your brother?
I would like to. I plan to do that one of these days, so maybe I will be down there soon.
Sounds good. And thank you again. It's been a joy talking to you, and we wish you well.
Thank you.
Okay?
You
And
too.
if you don't mind, please stay on hold because my producer would like to talk to you ever so briefly, okay?
Okay, great.
All right, thanks a lot. And that's Anne Helm. We want to thank her again for being our interview subject tonight here on 550 KTRS. And if you did try to call in and talk to her, we apologize, but there was just no way we could do justice to the number of people who wished to talk with Anne, so we do apologize for that. Hey, please stick around. We still